T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
All right, what is up, everyone? You're now tapped into the coolest reptile network in the world on Trap Talk Reptile Podcast. This is Christa with the inaugural episode of Girls Who Love Reptiles podcast. So happy to see you guys here. There we go. So what's up? This is crazy that I'm doing this. I'm so excited. So glad to see you guys all here. I'll talk to you here in the live chats in a minute, but just kind of wanted to give a rundown of my plan for tonight. So going solo here, so bear with me on that. But I just want to talk to you guys about kind of why I'm doing this, the pathway to this, my background in reptiles, what I'm doing currently, my kind of plan for who I want on. And then a large part of this is going to come from you guys with question answer, kind of asking questions that I can answer, maybe giving your input on what you want to see out of this. So the most important thing I want is for you guys to learn from this podcast every week. That's what drives me the most. So before I say hi to you all, I just want to, of course, give a big shout out to US ARC. They fight for our rights in order to keep these animals day in, day out, our livelihoods, our lives, our love, our passions. And to help them, it is by helping with numbers. So if you breed, keep, even like reptiles, I strongly, strongly, strongly recommend joining the fight for US ARC. It's really simple of, just the basic $40 for a whole year. And I think all of us can really can of course afford that and just help them all that we can do for all that they do for us. So we're gonna go in the comments here, give some shout outs to the early birds, Strictly Business. Thank you for showing up. V-Unit fan, Will, how's it going? Scott from Noble Family Fauna, thanks for showing up. We got Eric from PJ's Creations. We got Nick from the Reptile Pueblo. Thank you so much. Ryan, V-Unit, MORPH Valley Reptiles. Big Mike, 7076 Exotics. We have Aurora Exotics. Thanks for coming out. Brian, Heathen Hatchery. Thanks for coming out, man. Nikki from Irresistible Ball Pythons. Thanks for showing up. Cody from Morph Kings. Wow, there's a lot of you. Eric's Morph Factory. Got Elias here, Creator Reptiles. Yes, ladies' night on the trap on Sunday nights. Let's go. Got Manuel here. City Limit Exotics. Chantel, hello, how are you? Amanda from PJ's Creations. They picked up an awesome, beautiful leopard gecko from me. This looks like she's doing well. Thank you guys so much. Shane, how you doing? Thanks for coming out. Boza. Big E. Man, there's a lot of you guys in here. Alvaro, thank you so much from Clovers. Jen, thank you. Thanks so much for coming out. Thank you guys. So yeah, I'll of course go back in the comments here and there. But again, thank you guys for coming out. Just start on, I guess, my background, what even got me into reptiles in general and sort of the pathway and how I even got here. So I've always loved animals. I'm sure like most of us, I grew up on a farm showing cattle. I'm from Indiana originally. Bless my mom. I grew up asking for every single kind of pet, hamsters, fish, firebelly toad. I would say my first reptile was a green anole. I think I had a pair of them actually. And the reason I got them, it's kind of a silly story, but I took piano lessons and my piano teacher's son, I had a crush on him and he had two anoles as pets. So I, of course, had to get him. I grew up with him, went to church and school, elementary school with him and everything else. So that was my first official reptile. Then with that, we moved out to a farm, and that took a lot of my time working with my dad, showing cattle and horses, and working every day with that. So I loved animals so much that I went to veterinary school at Purdue. So I graduated in 2021. And it was during COVID. I was home a lot more from school. So I found myself on YouTube like a lot of other people out there. And that's when I found Brian Barczyk, surprise, like many of us got into the hobby, watched his videos on egg cutting. And that's what really sparked my interest in seeing his passion, his excitement with opening the eggs and seeing everything that was inside him, the genes that you could put together, genes you couldn't put together. It was all really, really fascinating for me. So that led to me finding Canova as well. And then that was, as you guys know, absolutely mind-blowing on seeing everything that Justin created. So that really made me want to get a ball python. So I was with my ex at the time, and I was absolutely no from him. He didn't even want to walk into a pet store with ball python. So we fought over, and I'm pretty stubborn. I am used to getting my way, shocker. So we had fought over and over about that. I finally was like, maybe I should just ask for forgiveness, right? So I actually had ordered a banana pied ball python from, I think, Wilbanks, actually. Yeah, Wilbanks, I think. So I was like, whatever, screw it. I'm just going to order this thing. Probably not the smartest thing. But what happened was this relationship wasn't the best in general, but he had somehow gone through my phone and seen that I had made that order and basically threatened, hey, if you don't, what do you say? If you order this or if it comes in the mail, I'm going to harm it and I'm going to leave type of situation. So of course, being the vet I am, I couldn't allow an animal to be ever harmed in that situation. So I had to apologize and have them not send the animal essentially. So kind of fast forward a little bit, decided that my happiness was better than anything in that relationship. So I ended up breaking that off. And then in 2022, I got my first ever ball python from Canova. And that guy is breeding now. He sired the first 2 clutches that I've had. One's on day 55, my first ever ball python clutch. So it's about to pip hopefully any day now. So it's super exciting. And so I kind of had him as a pet for a year just to see if I liked having ball pythons as pets, really. And I knew I kind of wanted to breed after seeing, videos on YouTube and all of that. I just didn't know when. I'm still in school. Like I said, I went to vet school, graduated in 2021. I'm now doing residency in research and a PhD in cancer research. So that does take up a lot of my time. It is flexible, but, and I do enjoy it. Being a veterinarian, I have expertise with, of course, animal diseases. And it's kind of fascinating that a lot of animal diseases people get, including cancer. So I do research with dogs who have cancer that come into the clinic, and then we study them in order to be able to maybe use our treatment on humans after we see its effect clinically in dogs. So it's really cool that I kind of got to get to be the bridge between animal and human health. That's what's kind of got me into veterinary medicine and interest in being a vet in general. So yeah, with that, it wasn't until went to like some local reptile shows last summer around this time. We were walking through and we actually ran into a leopard gecko guy who had these really pretty orange leopard geckos, and it really sparked my interest. And my now boyfriend just knew that I had been interested all along, liked reptiles, had them here and there, and it was like, you should really breed. You should really kind of do something with this. I think you'd be really good at it. So I kind of took the plunge there. I got some proven breeder leopard geckos. Started breeding them, produced my first clutches, I think, when was that? August of last year. Had like 20 or so. And I started investing in the ball pythons too as well. And yeah, here I am almost exactly a year later into the more investing, kind of building up the collection side of it. So it went by really fast. And like a lot of us have gotten a lot of animals in a short amount of time. So, but it's been a blast. I've been able to meet a lot of new people like you guys. So I really appreciate your support tonight for that too. So as far as what I'm doing with my collection now, leopard geckos, you guys have probably seen a focus really on the tangerine guys. Really bright orange colored one, line breeding them specifically, and then also breeding that into the firebolts. Firebolts are tangerine too, but they also have more of a dark black bold pattern on them. So the kind of plan is to kind of breed that really rich, solid, dark orange color into the firebolts to really make them pop. They have, like I said, some tangerine, but it's not as bold as I would like to make it the coloring. So that's kind of my plan with them. And the ball pythons, if you haven't seen my episode with Craig Bashcoder Reptiles, where they basically went through my whole collection, that episode is fair game for everybody to go see what all I have. So, but the big projects are, of course, clown and pied I have, but also focusing on ultramel and sunset I want to. So if I ever see hate on sunset in here, you're getting booted, okay? No cap with that. So just kidding, maybe a little bit, but we all know MJ loves sunset too, just deep down. So we just got to bring it out of him sometimes. And I plan to make a sunset that he'll fall in love with. So that's my ultimate dream. So, but yeah, that's where I'm at. I'd say I got 2 clutches for sure. Another girl that's due to lay any day now. So that's year 1 for me, and then it would just kind of build from there. So how I got to this point and doing a podcast, which I never really thought I would do starting out this journey of breeding, but we kind of got pulled in a different direction and kind of thought, well, maybe this is something that I can do. And MJ kind of approached me and was like, hey, is this something you want to do? And I thought, I was like, well, it'd be really good to, one, put me out there a little bit more. I am more of an introverted person, so I think this is a really good opportunity to kind of put myself out there. I think it's really needed if you're trying to build a successful business from this and hobby in this, of course. But also I think there is a big need for bringing women into light in the reptile hobby and industry. There's a lot of women out there doing awesome things, and I think sometimes it's mostly male dominated, which it's no necessarily harm in that. It's just the way it is. But I think bringing diversity, learning more about others and their backgrounds can really help us all not only learn more, but become better people as well and more understanding. So that's a really big part of this that I want to bring every Sunday to you guys, and just have a learning opportunity, learning about what other women keepers are doing around the world, not only in ball pythons, but I plan on bringing a lot of leopard gecko breeders into it. I want to bring crested geckos, large snake breeders into this, pretty much every sort of species of the reptile world, that are being bred by women, have them on here. But we're also going to do like bioactive. I have I think in a few weeks, a bioactive company coming on to talk about their business, but I think they're actually going to do a little live bioactive build. I'm hoping. I told them I would like to see doing that. Also bring pet people on too, I think is really beneficial to see, just learn about it from their eyes and what they see. I know there's obvious things that we don't always agree with on keeping, they have the whole thing with racks. And so I want to bring people and just kind of talk back and forth on what they're thinking of, how we breed. Maybe you could try to understand what they're coming from a pet side of things. I think would be really beneficial too. So that's kind of the plan for this going in the future, is having people from wide variety of backgrounds come on to talk. Looking in the comments here. Yeah, a lot of you guys are here. It's awesome. Banna. H&H, Tommy, thank you all guys for coming in. Will, awesome. Thank you so much for showing up. I'm in Will's Patreon. That's another thing I think is really huge with just joining this and trying to learn as much as you can is join the Patreon groups. I'm in a lot of them. They're really beneficial, especially the MJ's Patreon too, and Emilio's, the V Unit. I've learned so much from them and learning from other people. I've gotten a lot of help. Will's Patreon I'm in, that's really helpful as well. We all often go into voice chat and just sit in, listen, talk about everything from pairings to what's going on in the world. And I think it's really beneficial. And that's a really, really big thing I recommend. I'm trying to think of what I was going with that too. Kind of lost my train of thought, but yeah, Patreon group. Another thing saying too, what I've learned through this is choosing. It's really difficult. I mean, I love the podcast is what kind of got me started into learning, but you get pulled in so many different directions because there are so many different ways to do things and to think about pairings and which directions you can go that you often get fatigued from it, decision fatigue. I've been feeling a lot of that lately. So I think it's important to learn and listen from everybody, but maybe choose like just a few close people to really bounce ideas off of. Otherwise, you just keep kind of going in circles and circles and circles, and it just becomes really difficult to kind of find your path in there. So I just kind of want to say that too. But a lot of you guys in here are from the different V units. Patreon groups. Elias, I think, has a question here. Are there genes in leopard geckos that are complicated, like, or supers with issues? There are a few. One of them is called the Enigma gene, where they can get seizures often. A little bit I would say medium to late onset in life. I'd have to double check the literature on that, but they often do develop seizures, and there's nothing really treatable for that, unfortunately. So it's something you want to stay away from, just because ultimately they just decline, they lose weight rapidly, and it's genetically passed on, the Enigma gene. And then other one's lemon frost. So they often get tumors. They appear on the side of their face, almost kind of by their ear and jawline. But again, no really treatment for that. It's kind of just, they end up losing weight and pass from that. So it's another thing that, like spiders, we kind of just stay away from in that hobby ultimately. So I don't work with any of those guys. Geckos with seizures. Yeah, it's not fun at all to see those guys. It's pretty sad, actually. So it is interesting as a vet. I mean, I am more on the research side of things, but I do a lot of consulting on the side in the evenings. Not only dog and cat people, but I pick up a lot of the reptile questions just because I feel somewhat equipped to answer those. A lot of it's husbandry issues, a lot of things that we all know. So, but yeah, I see a lot of that with seizures, a lot of also leopard geckos with stuck shed behind the eye. It's a huge thing. A lot of people don't have humid hides for them. I would say on the ball pythons, the most common thing I see is respiratory issues, or if they've left a rat in there too long, it's kind of eaten the spine away. I've seen that pretty commonly. Turtles, tortoises, often swelling around the eyes just because people don't often feed them on the turtle side vegetable. They just feed them straight protein. They can get low vitamin A from that and develop swelling around the eye. So those are some common things. I also want to bring on some colleagues, some veterinarians who come on and talk about some common things they see in the reptile world as far as health-related issues. Talk about also, how we all know there is a scarcity of reptile vets out there. So what are some things that we can do at home to prevent common stuff? Probably a lot of us know, but just seeing if they have any other kind of tips and tricks out there for us. Some other question. Oh yeah. Vinny, hey, what's up? Thanks for stopping by. We got Edward here. Hey, I know if a ball python has a respiratory issue. Yeah, very good question. So commonly, A lot of times you'll just hear them kind of wheezing. It's not, they're usually like silent, right? You kind of open, you don't really hear them unless they're puffing or they're angry, but it's kind of an upper wheeze, I would say. When you're listening, you kind of hear it waxing and waning. And then a lot of the time they will get mucus all around their mouth too. And that's a big thing. And it's complicated because it can be upper or lower. So it can just involve the upper airways, or it can actually develop in their lungs and be pneumonia. So the important thing is taking them to be seen to kind of determine, okay, which part is it infecting? A lot of vets will take samples of the saliva and do maybe like a culture to grow what specific bacteria are growing there, and then that will determine the type of antibiotic to use. Because the big thing that we talk about or learn about in vet school is antibiotic resistance. So we're trying not to just give the same antibiotic all the time to treat it, because that could promote antibiotic resistance. Depends on the vet though. Some of them still just automatically do Baytril first off, which is good in most cases too. But with a recurrent infection, you want to test as well. Another thing that they bring up is also testing for nidovirus too, especially depending on the species that you keep, the history of it. Is this a new one or something that's popped up? Oh, and ICH&H brought that here. Yeah, test for nidovirus. I think that's appropriate too. Yeah, especially if this is a recurrent respiratory infection issue. So pretty good questions. But yeah, keep up with the questions too. Or what also would you guys like to see as far as going forward with the podcast? Like I said, I'm going to bring breeders on from every different type of species, the bioactive pets, veterinary health, bringing that on there too. So I think those are some things that are, I want to say missing in the podcast world, but could definitely be elevated on, especially with Trap Talk. Now we're going 7 days a week. So trying to just find out little parts of what we're missing. A lot of, new breeder on the block. Now we have the chondros, now kind of bringing the light to geckos and some other things that maybe aren't talked about as much, just to give as much information out there for you guys to learn. It's one of my favorite things to do is learn, because I am still in school after, I don't even want to count how many years I'm still in school now. But I think all of us have that willing to learn, and that's kind of where I got my name Neuro-Fi Exotics from, is I didn't want to just have my name and Reptiles. Like I played CC's Reptiles, maybe that. I was like, I don't know, it just doesn't come off so how I wanted it to. So my boyfriend and I we were just thinking about it, came up with Neuro-Fi Exotic. So because I wanted something kind of a little bit intellectual with it, because I find that it's really, you have to think about the pairings, how they work together. You always have to think 2 or 3, 4 years ahead, steps ahead. So there's a lot of thinking about it, and what we're creating is really mind-blowing. So I kind of wanted that with a little sci-fi kind of twist to it. So that's kind of where the name came from originally, is kind of with that intellectual background and kind of applying it to the reptile world. So yeah, my snake addiction says, check the size of the tail most of the time. Yep, I agree with that too. And they're just like kind of covered in it on the mouth, usually. Hey, Chase, what up? Chase and I kind of entered the hobby really the same time. He had leopard geckos before me, was bringing them before me, but we kind of got into ball pythons similar at the same time last year. We both went to Canova, their Patreon event, where we met up in November for the first time face-to-face, which is awesome. We've kind of kept connection back and forth, and he's actually having his very first clutch. I think he's a day behind me, I think. So I think your day 55 is tomorrow. So we might see if we cut them at the same time, or how they're going to pip or what. But super exciting that we kind of start at the same time, and our very first clutches are happening at the same time today too. Really high strictly business. I really like to hear about challenges of breeding Bismarck ranked pythons from Zion Hill Exotics on your show. Okay, I will make a note of that and bring that on too. So yeah, keep it coming on what you guys want to see. JQ, what up? I don't have my lemonade this time. So next time I'll have to bring that for you. I should have brought that, but I spent the whole day vending actually in Kansas City. Did the Cold-Blooded Expo first time. Vending there was a lot of fun. It was a lot of people there. Probably go back again. Next show is next Sunday, so I've been pretty busy on the vending circuit, I would say. I did 2 last year for my first year breeding leopard geckos, and now this is sold all the babies I made last year. This is my second season, so babies started getting old enough to sell, so I've been vending. Usually do the local areas, a couple hours for cold-blooded shows, and they show me reptile shows as well. So it's been a really good learning opportunity and getting in the public and getting a name out there. JCS 1 day behind. Yep, I know. They're probably going to wait until the very day 60 to hatch. Elias wants more topics or podcasts with bigger snakes, obscure geckos besides top 3. Okay, health and science, which is, yep, wheelhouse, maybe find women zookeepers for future shows. Yeah, totally agree. One of my colleagues is actually a vet at the Atlanta Zoo, I'm pretty sure. She graduated a year ahead of me, I think, at Purdue. So yeah, I was planning on having, she can have big connections with zookeepers too, as well as being a zoo vet herself. And then I have some other colleagues that just do the pet exotics. So I think that will be really helpful and interesting for you guys. It's really, really challenging to become a zoo vet. Someone has to die in order for there to be a job opening. So that tells you how hard it is to be. You often have to do, I'm in a residency. So I did vet school for 4 years, and I'm in a residency PhD I'm starting my 4th year. So that's a total of 4 or 5 years. I probably have another year or 2 to go. But with zoo, same thing. You go through vet school, then you do like an internship for a year or 2, and then apply for a zoo residency for another 3 years. And the pay is not the best. So again, a big thing that people think out there with vets is, oh, we just do it for the money. Yeah, no. Vets don't, we get paid okay, but to do a residency and internship and all that, it's not the best. So we definitely do it for more than we do it for the love. So, but yeah, definitely we'll have zookeepers on and the veterinary health aspect of it too. H&H women blood python keepers would be awesome. Okay, I'll make note of that too. Yeah, I think bloods are awesome. I do kind of want one as a pet someday just because the color is crazy. So they are on my list of reptiles to keep. So yeah, I'm really excited that you guys are excited about this. And I think it will be, like I said, really beneficial to learn from it. I think part of it, I'm not going to go super deep into it because obviously there's a need to have more, hear women's voice and stuff like that. But I have kind of noticed it when I go to shows, not so much on the vending side, but when I'm buying stuff, people don't really take me serious. They rather give their eye contact to my boyfriend and talk to him. They kind of just look kind of right past me. And I think it's just because the female sort of aspect, and it kind of drives me a little bit crazy. So I think that will help. This gives women, a place to speak out and kind of, just so we can all learn from these and kind of, prevent them in this industry too, just to make sure everybody feels, welcome and things like that. So, but yeah, just something I kind of noticed in the very first year. MORPH, Mike, what display do you at this show? So I'm going to have to look. I can DM you the specific kind, but I kind of got, for the geckos, it's a PVC cupboard. It has like little holes in it for the deli cups I put the geckos in, and it works well. It's elevated, so the light hits it. It's elevated at an angle. It looks really, really nice. I will look and see where I got that from. Yeah, and I will DM you. Let me make a note here so I don't forget where I got it from. It was really, really, I would say pretty cost effective too. It wasn't super expensive. I am planning on getting some ARS displays as well when I start selling the ball pythons, either next level or I haven't totally made my decision. But yeah, that's what I got for the display. And then I got lights off Amazon. I could try to send you the link for that too. but they're really, really nice LED lights. I think they were like $60, but they work phenomenally. I love them. They're super bright, illuminate stuff perfectly. So I really recommend that for the more kind of budget-friendly option. Wow, talk about yes, yeah, I'm dead serious. Those zoo jobs are like no joke. So like I said, so far, what has been your challenges and good things from vending shows? Okay. It's a pretty good question. It's hard. It's a hard question, but I mean, for me, it's hard to sell a little bit sometimes. I've noticed. It's like, I mean, geckos are really pretty. I think a hard part is pricing your stuff. For me, there hasn't really been a lot of leopard gecko breeders to kind of bounce stuff off of. I mean, there was one guy who said I shouldn't just come to the show in general because I wasn't going to sell anything. His prices were going to be too good for me to sell anything. So there's that aspect of it too. But it's been challenging on, I price my stuff based on what I feel like I would pay for it. And I go on MORPH market and kind of look and see what's out there. So they are high. They're not cheap. And I think that scares some people away because if people are selling leopard geckos, I find them for kind of half of what I'm pricing my stuff at. So in their mind, they'd rather kind of go the cheaper option or the buy one, get one free, or buy one, get one 50% off than mine that are priced, how I think they should be priced. But, I think that kind of vets out and makes sure they're going to a good home as well. I don't want to sell them for $20-$30. I want people to know, hey, this animal's going to live a long time, to put a lot of care and effort into them. They're not just something that you can, I don't say throw away, but not give a lot of, care and attention to. Some good things. It's been really nice to have people come by and say these are the most beautiful geckos they've ever seen. Just saying that and saying, they never seen anything like it. Are these even real? Where, how did you get them to be like this? So that kind of helps me as a breeder know I'm in the right track as far as what my stuff looks like. It's just kind of getting that conversion for the sale, but part of it that I'm still trying to think and figure out. But if they're there for a leopard gecko, then I have pretty nice stuff. But hope that answers your question in a roundabout way. It's a pretty hard question, but that's kind of what the challenges and some of the good things is, and really helps me with my, I think, communication too, and just being more open. Like I did say, I am an introverted person, so putting myself out there, talking to people for nonstop 8-9 hours is really draining for me, but it's also good to put myself out like that to help grow not only as a person. I've found that from this, I've been a little more communicative with my work too. I've been more confident, I would say. So the skills that we are learning as reptile keepers can be applied to our everyday life, not only to our jobs, but to be better people as well. So I think that's a really good thing too. Keys, yes, Swifties. I am a huge Taylor Swift fan, so I'm sorry if you guys are not that, but I'm known for being a Swiftie. Let's see, Castrupus Stygian or Stygian exotics also keep some really uncommon snake species. Okay, I will type them down too. Yeah, I think the first several episodes I have are gecko breeders, and then I have, the bioactive, and then I'm gonna start bringing in the cresteds. It kind of like rotates with something a little bit different every week too. The way it's not the same species all the time, and have episodes where I have maybe like 2 or 3 people on at the same time. I think would be cool too. So yeah, if you are wanting to be on the show, definitely DM me as well so I can keep record of it too. Keys has a good question too. What kind of effect has the breeding business had on your personal life? My family has been open to it, which is good. at first, I mean, they knew I had the one snake, and my mom wasn't super thrilled. My dad was like, what is this? My dad is a businessman too. He owns an insurance company. So he's more of the business mindset, and he doesn't quite understand what all is involved with it. Like, he'd be absolutely crazy to know what some of these would go for. Wouldn't really make sense to him. But they're thankfully pretty open to it. That I have YouTube with some videos on there for me. So I think it was like Thanksgiving or something. They would watch my videos and, laugh and stuff. But they really did like them. I think I did a bunch of like unboxing on my YouTube channel of new stuff that I got. And of course, my dad was like, how much was this one? Or how much was that one? Of course, I don't, I want to tell him how much I spent some of these. But that was a big thing too. Just kind of where I came from with my past relationship, being really kind of scared of telling people that this is what I do and like, but kind of just seeing how my parents affected it, and the people at work really love it. Every time they see me, they ask me how it's going, how the business is going. Have I sold, am I selling stuff? What's coming up, what's hatching. So they've been really open to it too. So I've been able to kind of freely talk about it, which has been really beneficial and kind of helped with the happiness part of it too. But it's also had me do some sacrifices too in my personal life. When I do something, I want to do it. I don't want to half-ass it. I want to do 110%. And a lot of this, is hard because it's based on how much, money you have sometimes for these projects and putting into, what animals you're going and building. And, I want it to be the very best that I can without straining myself too much financially, but I want to do it right. I'm really type A, and which can be kind of a negative too. Sometimes you kind of just have to let nature take its course, and you can't control everything, which is something I have to obviously learn with this and dealing with animals. But with that, I've kind of picked up a lot of extra vet consulting jobs. What I do at night. So I go to work, PhD work, come home, either clean animals or if I need to do that. And then at night, I'm doing the consulting. Either sometimes it's video chat or it's online chat as an extra pay from that. And then all of that pay, I can kind of put it back into the business. So working, pretty much all the time, really, if you think about it, where I have, my full-time job kind of pays for all of my needs and stuff like that. And then everything I get from the consulting or my 2 extra side jobs, I can then put into the business. So that's how I'm kind of able to do it, essentially, is by working really, really hard. And I've seen a couple other people do that in the hobby. I think Corey Long too, I heard on a podcast where he did something similar starting out when he was a nurse. He took extra shifts. And that really helped me too, seeing other people where they started and where they are now, like, having this be worth it. Obviously, you have to have the passion too, but you also have to be somewhat business-minded and make the right decisions in that aspect in order to kind of be successful. I'm still kind of obviously learning a bunch of this out, but it was really nice to hear that he was kind of doing the same, working extra shifts and putting all that money towards buying snakes and making sacrifices. So that's been having a really huge part of my personal life, is working all the time, maybe, hey, not taking this vacation or not going out to eat all the time, instead of saving that money and putting it back in for the animals, I think has been a huge part of it too. So hope that answers your question. Elias, last question. How have you learned about ball pythons? Patrons help you as far as your gecko productions and vice versa. Okay. So for the geckos, I'm in one group. I'm going to have them on a few weeks, the Exotic Index. They're kind of part of a Biohype super group. And they actually do, I forget what it is, but they kind of like, I would say, rent out their talk about it, a little business. It's kind of I can't think of it off the top of my head, but something they do more in the restaurant part, where they kind of have different like satellite, where it's all part of like one and they kind of like work together. It's an interesting kind of business makeup, but I'm in that group. I'm not part of that like financially, but I kind of like watch them see and just kind of group chat about pairings and stuff like that. So that's one thing that's kind of helped, because they've been in it a little bit longer than me. So I've kind of sent them pictures like, hey, what do you think about this pairing? Or where would you price, this animal? A lot of that. There's a lot of, I want to say, nuances in the gecko stuff where it's not all out there public knowledge, if that makes sense. Like, kind of have to like ask around. One example is like mandarin. It's a line bred trait of tangerine. A lot of the leopard geckos is not like snakes where you can just test. So some things you have to just assume they are het tremper, which is an albino gene. If they're coming from mandarin, you kind of just have to assume that unless you test for it. The only way you test for it is through breeding, which can take years and years and it is pretty complex. So there's sort of those things in there that when you list animals, you have to be careful and obviously taking pictures and not warping them in any way is like a big thing. So just learning those, not trying to step on, people's toes and that kind of thing, because people get angry about that in the leopard gecko world I've seen. So yeah, that's been interesting. And I think when I bring on some people, we'll learn about just kind of how they've learned through everything too, and little nuances here and there. As far as the ball pythons, there are so many more Patreon groups out there for that. So I'm in quite a lot of them. I think the first one I joined was Billy's. I'm in Justin's, Will's, Bob's, Emilio's, MJ's. Those are like the big ones I'm a part of. But it's helped me just meet other people. So when I do sometimes go to the shows, I see them in person. Like today I saw Celtic Balls. And through, I don't know if they're through Patreon directly, but through that, having them on other podcasts and stuff from other groups I'm in has been really helpful in just meeting people. Also seeing how other people are kind of like pairing, what projects they're into, kind of seeing the routes they take has also been kind of helpful as someone getting into it as well. Not wanting to like copy other people necessarily, but just learning how they think. It's a huge thinking and how you think about things, which is interesting. People think about things a lot differently between the groups. And that's where I talked about that circle thing where you keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That's really exhausting. So that's where it comes in, just finding a few kind of close mentors, I would say, is what I've got out of it. So Brandon Nixon from Nixon Reptiles has been a huge mentor for me. We talk almost every day. I probably burn his ear off to just chatting him and be like, hey, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? But he's kind of done the same for me too. So sending me stuff and saying, hey, what do you think about this? And it's cool that I met him through this and we talk on the phone. We talk for hours and hours and hours about reptiles. So that's been a huge thing I've gotten out of the Patreons too. And they're all different. So I get different things out of them. Like Bob and Josh is a little bit more business-minded, I would say, when they have their chats and podcasts where they come out after shows and they kind of talk about, okay, this is how much we made at this show, this is how we went about things. So there's that. Canova's a lot more, I would say they have videos out there about, kind of your business plan and certain aspects of the business, your team, and how you think about certain genes or combos or stuff like that. It's pretty helpful. So they each have their own little positives and negatives to them. So it's kind of just finding out, what is most beneficial for you in deciding which Patreon to join. So again, like I said, I went a little bit overboard and kind of joined a lot of them, but I would say it's been very beneficial for me once I've gotten to the point of learning of, hey, I don't have to do everything that everybody says because it's impossible. And that's what I felt like I was trying to do, like take all little bits from everybody and just kind of come up with your own conclusion, your own pathway on how you want to go. And it's hard. That's why I say kind of finding those key couple people that you kind of align with and kind of bouncing stuff off of them is really helpful. So kind of a long way to go about it, but Aurora exotics, what are some species you'd like to work with in the future? So many. I like the blood pythons. Of course, I would like a green tree as well. So I am learning about all of the different localities or the species of them. I'm sorry if I said they were localities and they're not, but those there's these little electric blue day geckos that I really like. I saw one today somebody had at the show and I thought that was really cool. I really like the the tree monitors. I always like the monitors, but they're too big, I think, for me to work with well. So I do like the tree monitors. I know they're a lot of work and a lot to take care of, but I like just the size aspect of those. I never thought I would want a huge snake, but the Burmese if I did a big snake, it might be a Burmese. I like the albino pied Burmese, or I think it's the caramel pie. They're really, really pretty. I really like pies. So when I saw those, I was like, I would like to work with those, but they're big. So it's getting over that sort of hunch on being able to do that. But those are, I would say, the main species that I would maybe like to work with in the future, I think. Just maybe as pets, maybe not breed them all. As far as breeding, I kind of, for now, just sticking with leopard geckos and ball pythons and really honing those in and making those the highest quality that I can get from those. But I would like to have more as pets. Maybe crested geckos too. I do like the lily whites a lot, and the red lily whites. I think they're really pretty. Jamar, it's my boyfriend, so thank you for supporting me here. I personally think it's just harder to price leopard geckos because there's not. Yeah, that's what I kind of found out from that too. Like I walk around, there's not really a lot to compare to at these shows. I'm kind of posting on MORPH Market, and they're often higher than what people want to pay, so that's kind of challenging. But my first year selling, I did most of it online anyway. So the show, I think, is just for me to get my name out there more, meet people, move a few here and there if I can. But the vending is not a huge way for me to move animals. A lot of it's on, at least for my first year selling, was MORPH Market. So yeah. So I don't know if you guys have any more questions too. I know we're coming up on an hour, which is better than I thought I was able to. I was worried about doing this solo because it's hard for me to kind of hear myself talk sometimes. So I'm not a huge talker, I'm much more of a listener and kind of engaging in conversation as I can. So this has been a good challenge for me to kind of be able to converse with you guys or podcast on the solo. And like I said, next week we're going to have Lindsay from Elysium Leopard Geckos on, new and up and coming leopard gecko breeder. She's got a really great following on Instagram, so I'm really excited to have her on as our first official guest. But yeah, we'll wait on here for a few more minutes if you guys got questions. And what do you guys think about like the timing of this too? We kind of chose time a little bit later on Sunday nights where wasn't really interfering. As you guys know, there's a lot of podcasts out there, and we didn't really want to step on anybody's toes with being Sunday night, but I feel like everybody is kind of winding down, getting ready for the week, so this might be a pretty good time, hopefully, to do it. Oh, thanks, Keys. Thank you so much. It'll take some time. I like how you guys are seeing this episode where it's just literally me and my computer. I am planning on getting like a miking system and a better camera. So you guys are kind of going to see my transition and how I hopefully will get better and better as time goes on. I'm really going to work hard on being the best that I can at this for obviously not benefit me, but to help you guys too and learn as much as you can out of this every Sunday. I don't see any more questions here. Let me see if I missed any in the chat real quick. I don't see any, but thank you guys all for coming out. Really appreciate it. Hopefully this is somewhat helpful as an inaugural episode. Elias, thank you, wonderful dog. Can't wait to see. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really, really excited. Overall, the community has been very welcoming, so appreciate that part of it. I may have learned a little bit, some things from the one leopard gecko guide talking about that before that show, and I think you're always going to have those type of people. But overall, the community has been so supportive. Oh, JD, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Makes me feel better. Nick, what are your main goals with the ball pythons? Are there genes you would like to work with but you don't have yet? So I kind of jumped into the multi-recessive. So the big projects I have, I would say, are Ultramel, Clown Pied, Ultramel, Hypo Sunset, and Dreamsicle or Holy Grail project, I would say, are my pretty big ones. I have a little bit of paint that I really like. I really have just one visual girl and then a head paint. So I would like to kind of add into that. And I have a little bit of, I say a little bit, literally just one puzzle head hypo girl that I may want to work into. I'm not sure what, maybe working into example. I don't know. I'm still thinking about it because I had the first show where they told me to, what I should chop in my collection. So I'm still kind of going through that. The biggest thing is keeping it manageable. And it's been really hard starting out. You want to shoot for the stars and do these multi-recessive projects, but without, breeding, you don't really have a gauge on how many animals you need for these. You hear, you need a lot, but how much is a lot, right? So it's still learning that aspect of it. And I think that will kind of determine what other genes or what other, I don't want to work any more recessive. I think that's plenty, if not, a little bit too much. But one thing I've also been talking about learning is you can have as many animals as you want. Like, you don't have to have a ton of animals in every single project. I'm okay with working maybe this little side project, still have it because I still like it. It just doesn't mean I have a ton more animals in another project that maybe I'm working a little bit heavier. So I think that's just part of that learning too. As far as genes I have, I like blackhead. That's in a lot of my stuff. And a lot of it's working like the super. So with blackhead, chocolate too. I have a few asphalt animals. I like lace, working that into everything. Super asphalts, obviously, too, with that. So finding out those with lead late combinations I like too, to kind of limit your, getting normals and all of that, I think will help as you're shooting for these multi-recessive projects, and your byproduct that you're getting, in order to, create enough revenue to be able to put it back into. As for genes I would like to add with that, I do like Calico a lot. I like what it's done in Sunset. So I think find like a hypo calico or something to add into Sunset, I would like to do. Stranger I like too. Don't know how to really add that quite yet into it. I've gone kind of pickier and pickier on the animals that I'm now kind of bringing in, because I'm trying to kind of wrap up my initial investment, which is hard, right? It's really addicting to not want to keep buying and buying and buying, but eventually you want to kind of tighten up on your, at least for me anyways, want to tighten up on my main investment, kind of work with what I have from there, and then reinvesting as I need in like in males and things like that. But I kind of built my projects on really solid girls. So a lot of double visual, well, at least in the Dreamsicle project, double visual girls and girls that have a lot of legs on them, to be able to use. Yeah, paint Sunset. Yeah, I'm really excited to work Ultramel Sunset. It's probably really, really my most exciting. I like the Dreamsicle stuff. That's kind of what it got me. I think my very first, kind of what got me into wanting to breed ball pythons too, was a cinnamon lavender. I think I saw at St. Louis NARBC, and that animal is just gorgeous. So that made me really love Dreamsicles. Mike, do you have any Sunset projects right now? So I do have a few. I have a visual yellow belly Sunset girl, and then I have a couple hets, double het, hypo Sunset girl, het Sunset girl, some other codoms, and then I have pastel Sunset het hypo boy. So I'm working the hypo Sunset route right now. I'm going to add a little bit, some Ultramel with the Sunset too, and kind of run. I think the Ultramel Sunset looks absolutely phenomenal. So I think having hypo and kind of working that into it. I don't think hypo elevates Ultramel all that much, but it certainly can't hurt it for just being versatile in that aspect. So I think that animal will look phenomenal. I'm kind of mainly focusing on the dark codoms as well. So kind of adding those into it. It's just really depends on the product, of course. I could go on and on, but I feel like Sunset, I've liked some dark stuff, and I'm also like some light stuff. So I think it's like finding a balance, because you can get too dark on it really easily, and you can get too light on it really easily. So it's a really challenging and really untapped morph to be able to kind of find what works with it the best. So I'm kind of going that route with it. Favorite albino strain in Leos. So have to say Bell, even though I don't have any yet, but that's the direction I'm going to go into to help boost the saturation of the oranges in it too, is working it with the Bell. So I'm kind of working out the animals that have het tremper in them, because I think the Bell will produce a little bit higher saturation with the colors. So I'm kind of selling off the animals that have the tremper on it. I am getting a Mandarin Tangerine male coming up, my new male that's been tested to not be het tremper, that I'm going to start to work into the project. So that'll be really exciting, but that's my favorite anyways. Chase, proud of you. Thank you so much, Chase. Mike, I'm working with Sunset Clowns myself as a first-time breeder. Awesome. Yeah, I think there's a lot of room to work with, and it's hard because there's some that I agree don't look very good. I'm not a super fan of Sunset Pied or Sunset Clown as like a base, but then you see some codoms into it, and you're like, that really transforms the animal, and you're like, wow, okay. So I think it's just being very kind of careful with it, but I think there's a lot to do with it, and some animals have looked absolutely stunning from them. So I think it's a great project. So I like Sunset a lot. Tommy, thank you so much. Yep, see you next week. And coming to Daytona. Yes, I am coming to Daytona. I bought my plane tickets not too long ago. So yeah, I will definitely see a lot of you there. Definitely put in the chat right now if you're coming to Daytona, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you get notified every time we go live. Like I said, we're 7 days a week now. All day, every day. And that wraps it up about an hour. So I'll give a few more minutes so you guys ask more questions, but then I'll kind of wrap it up. But that's kind of just what I want to do for this starter episode, just kind of give you a background of where I came from, what projects I'm doing, my kind of goal, and what I'm seeing for this podcast to turn into every week, on who I want to have on, then kind of getting your guys' input, which has been helpful, and all your questions too. So that's what I kind of want every week as well, is having the speaker talk for an hour, a little over an hour or so, but then having a decent amount of time at the end for Q&A for you guys to ask questions. I want this to be as interactive as possible to get as much out of it as you guys possibly can. So I foresee the chats popping every single night with questions. Of course, any super chat or anything like that is going to be donated to USARC as well. So yeah, super excited to go. Like I said, Daytona. Never been there before, so this will be my first time. I went and never been to Tinley either, so that is on the list for October. I went to Schaumburg last year. That was the big show. And then I go to St. Louis because it is St. Louis NARBC because it is local to me. It's like an hour and a half from me, even though it's one of the smaller NARBC shows. So, but yeah, I think it's really important to get out to the shows and meet everybody and network in person and kind of put a face to the name. I think it is really, really important. So. All right. With that, I think we're going to wrap it up for tonight for our first episode. So again, thank you guys coming out tonight. Showing the support really means a lot to me. It really gives me some confidence that, yes, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a good job for you guys. So like I said, Lindsay from Elysium Gecko is going to be our first guest on next week. So we're going to have some leopard gecko breeders for the first couple of weeks and bioactive, and then bring on some bigger snake breeders and ball pythons and go from there. So, and I got all your guys' recommendations. If you again want to DM me If you want to be on the show or have any recommendations on who you want. Sorry, my cat just jumped. I should probably kick her off next time. But episode 1 of the books for up episode 20. Yep. Goes by fast, and it's only going to get better from here. So I'm going to keep getting better and better. Have a great night. Looking forward to next week. Thank you, Amanda. Thanks for stopping by. Okay. With that, all right. Thank you guys all for coming. It's our inaugural episode of Girls Who Love Reptiles podcast, and heading out. See ya.